Hey there gamers! Today we have a preview of Legends of ShenZhou. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Legends of ShenZhou. Thank you to this publisher for sponsoring this video. This is a current Kickstarter campaign, so you can check out the link down below for everything that they have planned for this campaign. And this is also a prototype copy in front of me, so all rules, components, and things like that are subject to change and perhaps not in their final state. But before we dive into the game itself for Legends of ShenZhou, I want to talk a little bit about where the inspiration of the game came from. So this game is actually based in Chinese mythology, and so some of these characters you might see that you're able to play as with the heroes, there are so many that you're able to play with, and some of them are people that you may kind of know from history, but some of them are also mythical creatures and beings and stuff like that. So there is a marriage in this world between Chinese history and Chinese mythology and the things that you're going to be able to see. And just to give you an idea of that, there's also an art book that's going to come along with the game, depending on the edition you get and what you back. So take a look at the page to see everything that you can get if you're someone that really likes supplementary material and things that are learning more about especially things like mythology and weird creatures, because this game is full of a bunch of those quirky mythical beings that are really fun to play with. Now, this is going to be a game where you're playing as these different heroes going around this hexagon-shaped board, but the thing that's interesting about it is you're only able to move forward. So there are specific arrows all along the board, and you are only able to move forward in your path circling around in the map. So here you can see exactly what I mean, where the tiles are placed out that players are going to be playing around, and this center tile is actually specifically for when you are having battle type encounters. So you're able to either battle different creatures, which are going to come from these decks here, or the bosses down here, or you're also able to fight against other players. And when that happens, you're going to be fighting in this arena here. But overall, the general gameplay is that players are going to roll a d12 on their turn, maneuver around this map, and then trigger different effects. So for example, if you landed on one of the 4 color spots, the 4 colors are going to be your attributes here. So you have strength, courage, intelligence, and perception. And if you land on those colors, you will increase that skill for yourself. So you can see that this player here has already been able to increase their perception skill, because at the beginning of the game, you set your skills to what's on your hero card. So we did have these set a little bit ahead for both our courage and our perception, whereas our strength and intelligence started at just 1, but we were able to bump up our perception. Now that's very cool for us because our skill is the player can swap their strength attribute value with their perception attribute value. So that's really good to have one very strong and not need to go into the other, because you are able to swap them. Although some things are going to require both of them to be higher, such as wanting certain weapons. So now that you understand a bit more about the general pace of the game and the attributes that you're working with, players are going to be moving in a circular fashion around tile to tile, because these tiles do only allow you to move in a specific way, which I'll show you more when we get into that. But on each turn, you're going to be rolling your d12, moving forward that many spaces. Your movement may be augmented by your hero card, but more often it's going to be augmented by the mount that you choose to purchase later. But again, you need your attributes at a certain amount to be able to get those mounts. And you're going to be doing that, trying to choose where to land that's going to be advantageous for you to start working toward getting stronger and stronger. So for example, as I noted at the beginning of the game, we did start with our stats at a 1, 1, 3, and a 3, and we were able to increase them. And if you look here at our mount, it requires perception level 5. So we did also have to purchase this, and I did just spawn these for us to give you an example, but it does require a perception level 5 to even be able to have it. So you can see where players are going to want to increase all of these different attributes to be strong enough to have the best gear possible. Because if you look up top here, we also have Mao the Mount, and for him you need an intelligence level of 5, but looking even deeper, he gives +1 movement, but Ying here gives +3 movement, which is huge, but he requires your strength and courage to be at level 9, so you need both of those completely maxed out. So you can see where you really want to work toward getting those better and better, because the mounts and your movement are going to affect you not only on your general turn when you are maneuvering from tile to tile around the map, map, but it also affects you during your gameplay here, because as you can see, there are two different start spaces across from each other, and players are going to be playing action cards to attack in the arena. So we'll go over that in a moment, but you are really going to want to increase things such as your movement, as well as picking up things such as weapons. So here we have the sword Muye, and it's a level 1. And a level 1 sword means that we're going to be drawing enemies from this deck, whereas if you had a level 2 or 3 sword, you would be drawing enemies from this deck instead, and we're going to go over enemies in a moment. But this one, again, is a requirement perception level of 5, meaning that we are able to currently carry it, and it gives us attack plus 1. So we are doing a bit more damage there. Now, with it doing attack plus 1, you might be wondering, what is your health? Well, your health resets during every battle, so you don't need to worry about healing or anything like that besides healing during battle, and your health is always the combined number of your attributes. So currently we have 5 plus 3 plus 1 plus 1 for a total of 10 HP. Now, this sword does also cost you 4,000 yen to be able to do it, and you're only able to pick it up over in the blacksmith shop over here in that tile, so you'd have to be there to be able to purchase it and have the 4,000 to be able to pay for it. But if you choose to get better weapons in future turns, there's also a sellback system that whenever you sell back things that you have, you're doing it at a negative 1,500 difference. So we would be able to sell this back for 2,500. So you are able to upgrade and roll your money over when you're getting better items. Now we also have a shield over here, so you can see the Thunder Shield, and that's something that you are also able to purchase at the blacksmith shop. And if we were able to get this, you would have to have a courage level of 8 or greater, and HP of at least 15, meaning again that your total between all of your attributes is at least 15, but then it's going to provide you with a +1 defense. Now, weapons and shields are purchased when you stop at the blacksmith shop when you end your turn on that specific spot, but to be able to get the mounts, you would have to land over here in the stables, and if you land in the market, you actually draw a supply card instead. So the supply cards is going to be this huge deck here, and there's a whole bunch of fun things going on, but for example, we have here Assassination. Effect: the opponent's HP is -2 at the start of the duel. So this does cost 2,000 yen, but this card can be used only once in a battle, but it can be absolutely huge where you can see that we are 10 HP. You can have them start off at 8, and that can be a huge difference if you have your attributes a lot higher than other players if they've been focusing on stopping in other spots instead. So another example of a supply card is Cloud Piercer. The effect for this one is for all players on the same type of space as the player, reduce one of their attributes by 1, and it only costs you 500. Now this can only be used when not in battle, but again, that is absolutely huge to knock everyone down on their attributes. And another supply card is going to be Immunity. Effect: counteract the effects of other supply cards. So this is one that you may choose to have with you in your reserves to be able to counter attack this Cloud Piercer card because you don't want to reduce your attributes. So you can see where these supply cards are absolutely huge. Now, to continue going over the other spots that are here on the board, all of the purple spots are going to draw an event card. And the event cards, I am going to go through a few examples of those as well, because some are going to be good, some are going to be bad, and some are going to affect everyone. So, for example, here we have an event card, gain 1,000 yen. So that's absolutely great because you're just going to gain money. But another one is going to be, if the player has more than one mount, including unequipped ones, they must choose one to keep and discard the rest. So, that is absolutely terrible that you would have to get rid of some of your mount friends. And another card is, each player contributes 1,000 yen and then places the total amount on any space on the maze map. The first player to reach the space collects all of the money. Now, that's a good time for us to come over and look here at the maze map, because in normal tiles, you have to move forward depending on the arrow direction, and anything red will block your path. So, for example, here, a player would have to move forward through here, or they could go through this path, but they would have to always move forward, going circular around the tile. skills, but the maze is very different, where it's going to take you slowly through the entire maze. As you can see, there are these red lines everywhere, so you kind of have to snake all the way through it, meaning that you may be able to time out a lucky area to stop here on the maze. Now, if you land on a treasure spot, that's great. You're just going to gain some money. And then on a trap spot up here, if you land on a trap spot, you're actually going to lose your next turn, so that can be very bad. Now, again, when players stop on the 4 core spots for the different attributes, they will increase their attribute. But if you land on the spot that is yours, for example, we are a perception hero, so if we landed on a green tile, then we would actually also gain 500 yen as well. So if you land on your own color, it also rewards you by being able to gain some money to buy some things that perhaps you are able to increase your stats to even be able to gain it as well by the time you reach the areas where you're able to purchase. Now, the start space is very special as well, whereas if you land on this space, you will gain $1,500, but you'll also be able to go shopping as well, where you can make some purchases. So you may want to also try to time it out to try to stop on that spot as well, because it can be very lucky to do so. Now, if players land on any of these brown arena spots, that's actually when they would battle in this area. Now, the arena spot is going to be really special because that's how you get to fight the creatures, and depending on your weapon level, you'll either fight a normal or advanced creature. So where we currently have a weapon level of 1, we would fight a normal creature, or if you had no weapon, it would be a 0, so a normal creature, but you get to fight an advanced creature if you have a weapon of at least a level 2 or a level 3. So we would then draw cards to fight these different creatures, and depending on what it is, we'll fight in the center arena, but there are also judgment cards. So taking a look over here, we do have a creature that is a judgment creature, and instead you're going to be rolling a d6 for this. So this is a mimic dragon, so we would roll for their judgment, hoping not to roll a 3, and we did not. We rolled a 4, so we would be able to win the victory, which is 1,000 yen, and if we failed, it would have been negative 500, where we would have had to pay up. So we did succeed in that. But another example here of the advanced creatures is where you would be fighting here in the battle area. So this is going to be Zhuhai, and their HP is going to be based on you. So your player HP plus 6. So where we're currently at 10, their HP would actually be set to 16, and when doing so, another player would run this creature for the player, and then you would use both this dial and the dial over there, where one would be used for the villain creature and one would be used for yourself, but then you are doing an entire battle. So we are going to go over that in a moment, but just to finish his creature card, he does not have a skill, and if you win against him, you would win a good chunk of money, but if you fail, you would also lose money as well. So that is how the creature battles are going to work. So to take a look over here, you are going to have a deck of action cards, and everyone is going to draw 4 cards at the beginning of the battle. So you are going to have 4, as well as the creature having 4 cards. And then you're going to go back and forth trying to do as much damage as possible with these cards. And the tricky part about that is you are going to have cards that are going to allow you to attack, such as this is attacking with a d6, or a critical hit, which is a d6 and a d4, but the opponent is going to have cards potentially like counterattack or defense. So taking a look here, if this was our hand, we would be able to attack with these, but this player would be able to knock back, which isn't the worst, but we're also not quite close enough to be attacking them because we did not have any movement. So you can kind of see where there is a push and pull of not only what cards you're going to choose to play, but what might be counteracted by your opponent. And you're also going to be working within this area, such as frozen, which is going to give you even less movement, and things that can hurt you, such as the swamp. Now, again, this is why upgrading your different items is going to be extremely important as well, because when you are attacking with these different attacks, for example, with this card here, you would be rolling a d6 to attack. That's a 1, which is absolutely terrible. But you would also add your weapon strength, so we would be doing at least 2 damage with that. And depending on any skill bonuses that you may have, you may be able to do a bit more damage with that, but play will go back and forth until someone is defeated. Now again, this is going to be one of those games where you are focusing on yourself, getting the different items that you were able to gain, and you're only able to do that when your attributes are high enough, so you're really going to be focusing on your personal development for your character. But you have to remember that it is a race, because you are trying to take out these different legendary creatures before anyone else, because that is how you will win the game. So even taking out some of the earlier ones is going to add certain bonuses for you, but players are going to be racing toward this final boss because that's really what is going to matter. But you want to be careful not to do it too quickly, because there are definitely aspects where you don't want to fail. For example, Hundan over here, his HP is 40 and his creature damage is +2. So he's already attacking for +2 when he's attacking you. His victory reward is win the game, because that is how you'll be winning the game. But failure is lose all mounts, money, and shields. So you can see where you don't really want to go into a battle too early, because you could lose everything that you've been working toward that helped you get there to begin with. Now, finally, another thing during battle is you are able to attempt a dodge for attacks as well. For example, Hundan over here has a 5 and 6 for their dodge, and you would be rolling a d8 for that. So he would be able to attempt to dodge. He rolled an 8, so he was not able to do so. But that can also be very crucial when you are trying to fight against these different bosses, but also certain things will add to that for you as well. For example, our sword here added a dodge 4 for us, meaning that we would be able to dodge on a 4, and we were able to do so. So that is where you're going to want to be able to build that out for yourself, perhaps getting better things that will increase that number for you. But you also want to keep that in mind when you are fighting against the different bosses. Legends of ShenZhou is a game with a lot of game in it. So there are all the event cards, and as I showed you, they can trigger all different things that are good, bad for everyone, even just for yourself. So there are a bunch of events for you to go through. There are a ton of heroes for you to be able to play as, and there's actually an advanced mode where you can play with a second hero that is not as strong as your first one. But if you start really enjoying this game, there are a bunch of advanced rules that you can make it harder and harder for yourself if you're up to the challenge. But between the different heroes that you're able to choose, and even the different factions that they play into for the different attributes, they all do play a little bit differently because they have different strengths in different areas. But there's also the weapons and the shields, and more importantly, the mounts that you're able to add to your arsenal. And you are able to swap out those different things depending on what you want to be using at the time, and sell them back when it's really advantageous for you. So this game is a bit straightforward, where each of these spots do very specific things, and you are rolling to move forward, but there is a lot of strategy in deciding which spots to stop on, what attributes you're going to try to move up, when to make purchases, when to save money, and really when to attack other players, because that's going to help you a lot as well. And as I said, you're all working up toward this gamble of fighting against the final boss, where if you go too soon, you can really get hurt and lose a bunch, and potentially lose the entire game because other players are getting stronger than you in the meantime. But if you time it just right, when you are exactly ready to go and do so, you can run up, fight that final boss, feel so powerful, and be able to win the game. As I said, a bunch of things in this game do all tie back to Chinese mythology, so I highly suggest checking out the Kickstarter page just to learn even more about what's available with this game and the different things that you're able to check out with it, such as the source books and things like that. Now, this is the deluxe version in front of me as well, so there are both standee and miniature versions for you to check out. I've been Professor Meg. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel, and I'll see you next time. Bye!